Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
What's up? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. It is Friday, the 15th of January. Good to see you guys out there. If you are listening and you're viewing right now, I have a special guest for you this evening, Cassandra Wallace, who is the reigning, or actually she won the 2019 Miss World America competition. And due to the COVID, they just carried it over. So she's been the doing all of that stuff for 2 years. So she's been they weren't able to have that competition this year. So she just carried the crown for another year. And I believe next year, if we're all out of this, it'll be back to business as usual. A couple of announcements. Again, if you're getting any value out of what I'm doing here, do me a favor. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down in the corner. Thumbs the video up. That way we can get some exposure out here. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and share, share and like. If you have any questions for Cassandra as we're going through this is a live broadcast, so you will be able to participate within the comments. Go ahead and leave a comment or a question, and I'll make sure we get that answered. Let's see, what else do we got here? Any of my links or any way that you want to support the show, Cassandra's links will all be in the description down below, and I'll also be flipping them up here onto the broadcast as well. So let's get to Cassandra. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for hanging out with me this evening and making time to come and talk to me and share a little bit about you and your story and where you came from, where you're at, and some of the causes that you are behind and trying to promote during your, do they call it a reign? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I know it sounds super weird, but yes, it is called a reign. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such an honor to be here.
Well, awesome. Like I said, thank you. And so why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, how you got to be involved in the pageants, and because you don't have the typical story.
No, I don't. I'm definitely not your usual beauty queen. That's for sure. I didn't grow up watching pageants and dreaming that one day, I want to be a beauty queen when I grow up. That was just not anything that had ever crossed my mind as a possibility, to be completely honest. It kind of had a really big life event happen for me, and it just kind of changed everything. It led me down this journey. So my dad ended up passing away, and it just going through his stuff and just the whole situation, it just really got me thinking about my legacy and what I would leave for my children. Because I'm a mama. I have an 8-year-old, and I have in a week 6-year-old twins. So just thinking about that, what happens one day when I'm gone? What are my children going to look back, and what are going to be the things that stick out as memorable to me? Because when I was planning my dad's funeral, it's in a weird way, it's like the highlights of someone's life, or what were their accomplishments? What were their joys? What were their struggles? What did they love? What did they live for? And it just made me really think, well, what are my kids going to think about that for me? And so, I really love volunteering, always have. And it just really imprinted in my mind that I wanted to have a way to be able to make a difference on a larger scale. Like I do a lot of local community work and stuff, but I really wanted to find a way to do something bigger. And I wasn't quite exactly sure what that would look like. And so just in the like realm of trying new things for just trying new things sake, I got invited to go participate in a bikini contest at a local casino. So I was like, sure, why not? I've never done this before. And part of the competition is they asked you to write a little bio about yourself, like what you like to do. And so I talked about how when I was younger, I had been all over Africa doing volunteer trips every summer. And it was something that was like really meaningful for me to be able to volunteer and give back. So at the end of the bikini contest, I ended up winning and I went to go thank the judges. And one of the judges was like, oh my goodness, you should totally be in pageants. And I was like, oh, you know, I'm old. I'm not like 18, you know, and I have children. Like because in my mind, I'm thinking like you have to be 18 to like 20. And I'm like, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you actually, there's pageants for people that are older and they kind of swap out the talent portion for your community involvement and different charity events. And it's a really good way to help and give back. And I was like, oh, okay. So I signed up for my first pageant. I'd never even seen a pageant when I signed up. I had no idea what I was getting into. And that's how I got into pageants. So I definitely was like, I haven't even seen any of the pageant movies, honestly. So I definitely was not your typical beauty queen rolling into it because most of the girls had competed since they were like 4 and their parents had like pushed for it and their sisters did it and all this other stuff. And everyone's like, so who do you know that's done pageants? I'm like, my intro to pageantry, right? like, okay, how many pageants have you seen? And I was like, maybe I should see one before I'm in one. So there's this little tiny local fundraiser, like it's a college prep thing for like, I think if they're like junior high kids and they do like a really like short pageant. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go watch that. So that's the only pageant I had seen when I initially competed, which was nothing like the one I was in, by the way. But so that's kind of how I got into that.
Yeah, and you had some other wins too as well. Like, didn't you win the Miss Washington or Colorado? One of the state competitions, right?
Yeah, so I started off as Mrs. Poulsbo, which is the city I'm in, and then I got the Mrs. Washington, which is a state I was in, and then I won Miss World America, and then I went on to the Miss World International pageant where I got first runner-up.
Okay, that's awesome.
Thank you.
And so I was reading, you sent me your bio, and it's pretty impressive what you do because you're not just a pretty face. You're pretty smart, and you're a tax person, and not just a regular tax person. Explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm actually an enrolled agent, which also sort of ties into my story too. Like I've been doing taxes for forever. Like I'm going into year 14 and doing. So I'm 34, so I've been in the industry for a very long time. It's what I went to college for, but I never took my enrolled agent designation, which is like, it's very similar to a CPA, which most people have heard about. CPA is a state designation, enrolled agent's federal, it's more specialized in the IRS tax code. But I never took it because I was failing because it's a really hard test. And sort of my dad dying, and then one of my mentors just was like, have imprinted something on me that was very meaningful. And like, you know, if you don't try something because you're scared to fail, you've already failed. At least if you try, you have the opportunity of succeeding, and then you can learn what worked, what didn't, and move on. But if you never try, you will always fail 100% of the time. And that was something that just like really resonated with me. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to live my whole career where I never go get the designation. I know all this stuff. I can totally go do it. And it was like a really long test, like 3 parts, and it's supposed to be like, you know, several hours long. And I went in each time and I was done like in less than half the time. And the instructor's like, are you not finishing it? I'm like, no, I'm done. And I passed all 3 parts. They have like a 22% pass rate. So it was something that like I should have done a very long time ago. I definitely knew the information, but it was just that whole, like, I was scared to fail. And so for me, kind of my journey has been, and I'm grateful for my dad even being gone to kind of just to teach me that lesson of like, you can't just not do something because you're scared, because it's just, you'll miss out and you're costing yourself and no one else. And so for me, that was just like a really eye-opening experience. And yeah, I have my own tax practice now, which was also something scary to branch out into. But I love helping people save money, and I enjoy strategizing, and that's just what I do. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I come from a family of tax people. My mom was worked for KPMG for years, retired from there. And then also my ex was right under the controller, like almost I don't know what the name of it is, but yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that industry.
Yeah.
So you have some stuff that you're working on, especially down in Haiti, right? One of the causes that you are working with. And what is the name of that?
So it's the Youth National Football League in Haiti. So it's super cool. It's actually something that, like, for me, I still wanted to, even with like COVID going on, I'm like, I got to find a way to volunteer. It's definitely more challenging when you live in a state like I do, where everything's essentially been shut down since March. Like this week, school's open for the first time since March. Like that's how shut down everything's been here. And so I was like, there's got to be a way through social media. There's got to be something I can do. And it was through the beauty pageant, actually a mutual connection, where I learned about the league, and I said, it's this really cool program in Haiti. We give the opportunity for kids to be able to play football, or if you're here in the US, soccer, no cost to them, which is really cool. So it's similar to like if you were to take, like for me, if I were to go register my kiddos to go play like rec soccer, but the difference is it's free. So a lot of these kids are from very, very poor places, where although it only costs $25 to sponsor a kid for the whole season, their parents can't afford it. So it's really cool that they have that opportunity, that they're not left behind because their parents can't afford it. They get to be able to play. They get with the $25, they get a home and away jersey, and they get to be part of this league. And sort of the unique thing about the league is they track everything. So they have this cool little app, and they track all the players and the games. And so they're able to see like who is really skilled at soccer and who's not. I mean, and that's fine if you're not, that's awesome. There's so many benefits of sports, truly. But for the people that, the boys and girls that are very good at it, it's a way for them to be able to get scholarships to go to other countries, to get an education, and to pursue sports professionally. So it truly can be life-changing for a lot of these kids. And this is the first year there was the league, and this is the first year there were ever girls sponsored to play. So that was kind of my pet project for the COVID time. Was I had the opportunity of working with a lot of other beauty queens and a lot of other wonderful people to be able to find sponsors so that there was enough girls sponsored to play. And then on top of that, I had the really cool privilege of being able to go to Haiti in September and watch the opening games. And it was just so surreal to be able to see these girls playing. But I'm like, oh, I know who sponsored you. Like, this is so amazing. And then a few weeks ago, I actually got back. I got to watch the closing games of the league. So it was just really cool to see like the kids whose lives are impacted, because sometimes you just say, oh yeah, some kids being helped somewhere, but to actually like see that kid in person, like playing, and to see their passion, and to know that like this kid would never have had the opportunity to play if somebody hadn't sponsored them to play, is just, it's so incredible. So that's been something that I'm an ambassador for them. So I've been able to help volunteer with that. And it's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's definitely cool. So somebody that hasn't been to like a place like Haiti, explain what it was like. What was your experience like? I'm going to play a video from when you were there. It's a little kind of a longer one, but explain it a little bit first as to like what the life was like down there. We come from a first world country, I guess you would call it that. I don't know what it's like there, but take me through it. What your experience was, how are the people, and all of that.
Sure. Yeah. No, I wasn't sure what to expect at all with Haiti. Most of my traveling has been to Africa. So it was definitely a completely new experience for me. I had no idea what to expect going there. And of course, it's very warm. It's tropical down there. I was taken back by how friendly everybody was. I think of everywhere I've ever been, just the friendliest people. And it didn't matter like if you were at the airport or if you were out with the kids playing soccer. It didn't matter like who I interacted with. Everybody was very, very friendly. And I mean, there's beautiful parts of Haiti. It's a gorgeous country. There's also a lot of poverty there for sure. So it's sort of what you would expect in an area where there is a lot of poverty and like the things that come with that. Like there is a lot of garbage around, and you know, you do see kiddos that definitely look like they haven't eaten in a while. And I mean, some of the kids playing, they're like, yeah, they haven't eaten today. And as a mom, it just like breaks my heart to be like, oh my goodness, there's a kid playing a sport. I mean, they're super excited and they're grateful to be there, but they haven't eaten today. And I'm like, I just want to like stop and feed everyone. Like the mom in me is like, no, let me, you know. And so that was definitely like a little hard for me, but it was really cool to see that despite the circumstances, like how passionate the kids were, like, and even though some of them were really good players, some of them had like clearly never played before, but regardless, they just like had so much passion and energy and excitement. And you could tell that it was like so wonderful and meaningful for them to be there and to have that opportunity. So that was huge for me. But yeah, Haiti is amazing. I would definitely say wonderful things about it, but there definitely is poverty and a lot of need for things that go along with that.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds just like, I mean, it's no different than kids that would be playing here that you would see enrolled in your local soccer programs, you know, after school programs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's really important to understand is that, you know, look, just because people are over there and they're over there, I mean, we're all basically the same.
Yes.
We all want the same things. You know, we all want, you know, our kids. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter. I mean, I want her to be healthy. I want her to be safe. I want her to have the things and the opportunities that I didn't have. And I think that goes across the board anywhere. It just translates no matter where you are in the world.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I think that every parent wants their child to have a better life than them and wants the best for them. And that's something that like was really impactful for me too, is being a mom. Like I love taking my boys to go play soccer. They all play rec soccer. They love it. They enjoy it. They look forward to it. And so I was thinking when I was helping find sponsors for these kids, I was like, how heartbreaking would it be to be a mom, have your kid wants to go play, but you don't have the money to? Well, of course you would want to. But I mean, if you're having to choose between, well, are we going to pay for food or is our kid going to play soccer? Of course you have to prioritize. But it was really incredible that this organization has gone in there and now those parents have to make those choices. And being able to watch the closing games, like to hear some of the kids share their stories, like because they play in this, you know, with like soccer balls that are very, very falling apart. But when they get to play with the league, they get nicer balls and all this other stuff. And this one kid got on there and commented at the end that, you know, he'd been playing, his team won the finals, and he had commented that he had been playing his whole life, but he had never won a medal for it before. And they gave all the kids that won medals, got to help put them on some of them. And it was just like, you could see the like intense passion and feeling of pride that he felt like, hey, I got to do something I absolutely loved. I rocked it. And now I have this medal that I'll have for the rest of my life. And I get to go home and I get to show my parents. That's one thing that was very striking, different to me versus being in the US and watching soccer games versus being in Haiti. As in the US, when I go and watch with my kiddos, all of their parents are there. Everybody's grandparents are there. It's like you have more people watching than you have playing for sure. Well, it's not the same way in Haiti because a lot of the times the kids are bussed in there and they come from very far and it takes a long time to get there and their parents have to work or their parents can't get there. So there's almost no parents watching. So it's pretty much the kids playing and then the next kids behind them that are watching. So that made it a little bit different, but it also made it more meaningful that the kids that won got to go home with their medals, being like, to show their parents like, hey, look what we accomplished, and to share that. But yeah, that was one thing I noticed that was very different. I was like, where are all the parents? And
yeah.
It's a function of, if you know, you have to work to take care of your kids, you can't always take off to go do that. You don't have that luxury. So it's just something that's just different between a first world country and not, is just you don't have the luxury of time always.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the questions that I asked you was, you know, did you get a chance to talk to any of the parents? But obviously you didn't.
No.
But so let me ask you this. Having been there and seen what life is like there, and I mean, you've been to other places in the past. What do we take for granted that you noticed by being in a place like that? Like, what stands out that Americans take for granted?
I think the biggest thing is food. I think Americans take food for granted. For example, my children have never, and I am super, super grateful for this, but my children have never known the concept of there's no food. Maybe it's not the food they choose to eat. Maybe it's not their favorite food. But every day they wake up, there's something for them to eat in my house. They don't have to be like, oh man, we're not eating today and going to school. Like we're not eating today and going to go play sports or go play with our friends. We just got to like put on a smile and suck it up on an empty belly. They've never had that. I mean, I do understand there are a lot of people in the US that do experience that, but not on the same level. And so I think the biggest difference is it wasn't unusual for the kiddos playing to not have eaten. And so, on both the teams and all around. And that's something that like was really hard for me as a mom, because I want to feed them, I just So I think that was one of the biggest differences is, like maybe they're a little bit tougher because they've had a little bit more adversary and they've had to deal with stuff that's just not as common. Because here you can go to school and there's school lunches, or there's food banks, or there's places and there's ways that if you don't have food, you can get food. And it's not quite like that there. So that was something that was definitely a big difference.
Yeah, one of the things that I had watched in some of the documentaries that I've seen about, areas like that is water. There's no running water a lot of the times in some of these villages, and some of the women have to walk miles to get water, and that's like a daily thing. Like walking to and from to get water is a daily chore, a daily task. It happens every day. And like, all we have to do is just lift the spigot and there you go. Right.
Right. Yeah. That was a total trip. A lot of the water is all trucked in there as well. I'm not sure how in some of the places where they get their water, if they have to walk to it or not, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And when I was in Africa, I spent many days walking and getting water. It was like a 4-hour process. We go get water and then we come back. It's like your job, but it's just getting water.
And so when you were in Africa, you were there when you were younger, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I started going when I was 13, and then I went every summer after that through college.
So experiencing that, did that kind of help to like give you a better, appreciation for what you had when you came back to the States, having to walk 4 hours back and forth to get water?
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. Like it definitely would put stuff into perspective. You go to a village and the entire village shares a single toy that somebody made out of something, and then you come home and you're like, oh, wow, I have a room full of toys, or like, just like the food thing or the water thing. Like I spent a summer in Uganda where there were a tribe where their crops had all failed, but they were so remote. They were 10 hours walking distance over a mountain from the nearest road. And so beans and rice had been donated, but none of them knew that because they were in the middle of nowhere. So I went with a group of people where we hiked up and down the mountain, going to the different remote villages, bringing beans and rice with us, saying, there's more back at the bottom, and just to like, it took 2.5 months to pack all these beans and rice in, and everybody was doing it all day long. But it was like, that became what villages did for 2.5 months, was just going up and down the mountain getting food. And so I definitely have an appreciation for being able to open my fridge and have something in there, or being able to be like, no, I want something else, and just drive down to the grocery store, and be able to get it. It definitely does put things in perspective. And I think probably shaped me a lot as a child for the things that I prioritized and the things I wanted to do and didn't want to do, just because I felt like I had a different view than if I had never seen a world like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and show this video here real quick. Let me go ahead and share screen right here. And if you guys are watching, bear with me. This is going to be a Instagram and IGTV video from the league that Cassandra is talking about. And I'm going to play this one where it has you in it.
I'm super excited to be here. It's a very beautiful country, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to see the league in action.
Mwen tre kontan ke mwen kapab reprezenter Ligue féminine haïtienne nan parce que moi-même l'an te ti moun, sport c'est un bagage qui était très important pour moi. C'est un grand parti de vie. Il te permet de développer personnalité. Il te permet moi de gagner des amis et puis il te permet moi que moi
Now, this isn't another language, but this is basically just to give an idea of what it looks like down there and what she experienced.
Moi, parce que nous sommes capables de très bien dans cette affaire, si je suis un bon professeur, des bons coachs, pas rien qui peut faire au niveau international dans tout le pays. Nous sommes très contents pour le bel travail que nous doit faire, nous sommes fiers de lui. Et nous parlons avec tout le monde sur l'autre bord, tous les amis, tout le monde qui connaît famille, tout le monde qui est gros business sur l'autre bord. Nous parlons de tout le travail que nous doit faire et tout le monde excité, tout le monde content, tout le monde veut participer avec nous. Parce que nous trouvons que c'est plus belle bagarre qu'on a une chance pour arriver dans la vie à travers le sport. Et ma campagne avec tout à 100% et tout le monde que nous connaissons veut campagne avec, veut aider le sport là parce que tout le monde aime le sport là, il veut le sport là, il est d'accord avec parce que c'est donner une opportunité à un enfant pour réussir dans la vie. Mais je veux dire toute famille qui est petit monde veut faire ça.
So that's an idea of what you were doing while you were down there. Let's go ahead and, if you want to check out this, there's Tap In Haiti on Instagram, and they also have a basically mobile solutions where they do all their stuff. Now, can you basically do any donating if you want to donate to the cause through this website, or is there something specific?
Yeah, you can. So basically what Tap In is it's an app that allows you to see and to track the players and the coaches and the teams and the progress. But yeah, you absolutely can. So you can go on to like their social good, and then you can click on, they have the different countries that they're involved in. It's not just Haiti. That just happens to be the one that I've been helping with. But so it's an app too that you can download however you get your apps. And then you can click on the different countries when you have the app. And then it allows you to sponsor players. That's $25 to sponsor a player. Or if you want to sponsor a whole team, it's $450 for the whole team. There's 18 players on each team, and you guys see their like the photos, their jersey numbers, and it's super fun because when you sponsor either a player or a team, they send you these absolutely adorable videos where they thank you personally. So you get to like actually have some interaction, which is kind of fun, and then you can follow during the season and see how your player or your team is progressing, which was something I really enjoyed doing. Happen to be a little competitive, so always like, how's my team doing? You know, how's my girl? And so yeah, there's definitely ways that you can be involved with that. And I know they're always looking for sponsors because each time, you know, they have games, more and more kids sign up. So there were a lot of people signed up, and then after the games started happening in Haiti, it just exploded because more and more kids heard about it, and more people knew, and so it's a really cool opportunity. And so there are so many kids on there that need to be sponsored that won't be able to play unless someone sponsors them. So definitely if it speaks to anyone, it's a really cool way to give back and make a huge difference in someone's life.
Yeah, and $25, that's not a whole lot. I mean, that's basically one drive-through session at a fast food restaurant.
Right? I know, because like in comparison, I was like, what? They could play for $25. My kiddos play here, and it's like, I think it was 170 for each of them to play for their season. And so it's definitely very, very reasonable, and it's hugely impactful in the kids' lives.
Yeah, I like the fact that, I mean, it's almost like for the ones that are really good and take it seriously, it's almost a way out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like the thing is if you have a super talented person and they never get the opportunity to play in front of anybody, that could find them to nurture their talents. Because even if you are natural at something, having somebody be able to teach you the fundamentals and having someone who can guide you and point you in the way to go and line you up with, hey, this is how you can actually make a living doing this, or hey, this is how you can get an education doing this. Without all of those networking opportunities, it doesn't go anywhere, and you're still left playing on the streets without the ability to have a better life. So for me, it's so huge that you are able to find people that have these skills and these talents. And the other really cool thing is that the league also creates a lot of jobs in the area. So all the referees, all the coaches, they're all local people who, I don't know if they had jobs before or not, but they're well-paid jobs, and they're taught a skill. And there's kids that run their media there that are phenomenally talented, that had they not been given this opportunity, like, it's crazy to see how good these kids are. And in the video clip that you were playing, like the people that were filming that and the people that were interviewing me, those are all jobs that were created down there as a result of the league. And so there's people that had these talents and these wonderful gifts that didn't have an avenue to nurture them and to make a living off of them. So it's really cool. The ripple effect of it all, I guess, is something that's like really stands out to me as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what is your favorite part since we're going to change speeds here a little bit. What was your favorite part since you won of your reign so far? I mean, I know that was pretty cool, but was there anything other than that kind of stands out to you about what you've been able to do so far since you won?
I really like little kids. So for me, there's been a lot of really fun things that I've got to go do with little kids. So I got to, one of my really good friends has a candy store. And so she had this fun idea that I should come dressed up with my sash and crown and a ball gown, and we should have little kids just come, and I would give them little tiaras and put them on their head. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And there were so many little girls that like came up and were like, I want to be a princess. And I was like, you totally are a princess. That I put the little crown on them. And it was just really sweet to like interact with them. And I just really loved that, actually. And I got to go to Seattle Children's Hospital there and go read, and they have like a room where either like the kids are well enough to interact or like the siblings of the kids. And at the time, one of the little girls I was there playing with and reading with, her older sister was having open heart surgery. And at the same time, my niece was actually, who was the same age, who was like 4, was also having open heart surgery. And so for me, it was just like, I mean, I wanted to like, as the mom, be like, hug her. I mean, I didn't touch her, but I was like really meaningful to be able to play with her because my niece actually lived really far away. And so I wasn't able to be there with her. And so it feels good to be able to like get the opportunity to give back in that. So I really liked reading and playing with the kids at the hospital. And then it's hard for me to pick my favorite. And then I really liked, like bell ringing with the Salvation Army. Like that was super fun too. I think like pretty much everything I've done, I've just like super enjoyed because I feel like they're opportunities that I wouldn't otherwise have had. Like this sounds super weird, but I have found it's actually really hard to get people to let you volunteer. Like a lot of the charities that I have gone and volunteered with has required me calling like again and again and sending emails again and again, being like, please, can I come help you? And so like, and I'm like, I'm a beauty queen. I really want to come help. I want to volunteer. And then I know it's just because they're so busy and they have so much going on. And then being able to like show up at the event and they're like, oh, you actually came and you're here. And I'm like, yes, I've been dying to come here, trying to get your guys' attention. I've been sending you my social media and sending you my photos, being like, please let me come help. I love love to support you, please. And so, I mean, for me, that has been really cool. I got to help a lot with the Boys and Girls Club. which was super meaningful because my oldest son goes there as well. And so just to be able to like go full circle with that. So I don't know, I guess I don't have a favorite. I love them all. It's all just been like a dream come true to be able to like help people.
Yeah, that is a tough question. I've gotten a similar question to that too. When people ask me what's the favorite episode that I've recorded with somebody, and I'm like, they all have a special place in my heart.
Right?
There's no, I can't pick just one. Each one of them has helped me or helped somebody else or given me a piece of information that I didn't have before. So
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we'll start to wrap this up. Since the pandemic hit and the lockdowns and everything else, everybody's kind of, well, maybe not everybody, but I mean, if you're doing it right, you've sort of figured out, something that you may not have noticed or known before, or maybe you picked up a new passion, or maybe an old one. Did you experience anything like that for yourself, during the lockdowns, like maybe notice something that wasn't important to you before, but is now important?
I'm just soaking up all the time with my boys. Like I really enjoy that. Like I used to have to commute really far and to meet with clients and all that. And I don't have to now. And so kind of my little time with my boys is I have my hot tub turned down very low. And at the end of the day, I like to go sit out there with my 3 boys and they drink their juice boxes. I have a drink and we just like hang out and say, what was the best part of your day? And about 90% of the time, my boys will be like, right now is the best part of my day, getting to spend time with you. And so for me, it's just a little bit about like taking a little bit of a slower pace and just enjoying those moments, because sometimes it's easy when there's a million things going to just be rushed and to not notice what's right there in front of you. So I really enjoyed that, just having more time with my boys and getting to like bond with them and their goofiness. And that's what I've been doing more of.
No, I know exactly how you feel there as well. And that's kind of where I was. Like I said, I have a 2.5 or 3.5-year-old daughter, and I was willing at one point to sacrifice, time with her for my career. And then once that happened and I started spending more time with her, I'm like, no way. It's not worth it. I'm
Right?
having so much fun watching this little person's personality develop right in front of me. And I get to help. I get to help shape that,
Yeah.
And to me, that's like really cool. I mean, it's, like I said, I could care less if I make less money now than I did before, as long as I get to spend more time with my daughter, I'm happy.
Yeah, it definitely helps you like fix your priorities and get what's important in life, for sure.
Yeah, money comes and goes, but those moments and the opportunities to shape your child's personality and who they are going to become, their ideals, there's a great, I always say this, but there's a great meme out there, and it says, instead of giving your kids the life you wish you had, teach them the things that you wish you knew.
Right? Oh, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, and I've been doing that ever since, and it's like, that's so right on, and I think we all should be doing that. But I'm only responsible for me, and I can only do what I can handle and control. So let's see, what's the future hold for you?
Well, I am actually getting to go to the inaugural ball next week, so I'm excited about that. Other than that, I'm going to New York Fashion Week, and I give up my crown in August. A little bittersweet, but I also I've been asked to compete in another pageant, so I think I'll do that, and hopefully lots more volunteer work. I know I will continue to do stuff with the Ligue in Haiti. That's something that's been very impactful to me, and probably honestly most of the charities that I've volunteered with, I'll continue to do stuff with, because I love it so much. So going forward, probably just a lot more of the same. And when everything's a little bit more open and travel's a little easier, I mean, there's a lot of really cool opportunities and things that I could do if things were open. Like the pageant I was in was international, so it was really cool to meet beautiful, wonderful, intelligent, passionate women from all over the world. And a lot of them had really cool events and charities that I absolutely wanted to go to, like South Africa and to the UK and go support them. And just with the travel restrictions, I wasn't able to. So once everything's open, I would love to go support those women in their causes, because they have causes I never would have even dreamed of. I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know anything about, but it's really cool that they're passionate about it and they love it. And I'm a firm believer in women supporting other women. So I definitely would like to do more of that in the future for sure.
Yeah, that's great. You also have a fragrance line now, right?
I do. Yeah, that was there's been a lot of like really fun things that have happened as a result of being in the pageant. And one of them is I got to connect with this wonderful man named Pascal in France. And he had seen some of my interviews that I did and was like, hey, I want to do a perfume that's sort of like if I were to take your personality and put it in a bottle. Like, as weird as that sounds, he's like, the characteristics that I like about you, I find endearing, I want to match those with fragrances and make a perfume. What do you think? And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. So I partnered with him and was able to do that. So yeah, I have my own perfume. It's called Miss World America by PG Spirits. That's the name of his company in France. So it's based there, and I mean, you can buy it online and stuff, but it's been really fun. That's one of those like surreal, like fairy tale moments where you're like, I can't possibly get something this cool in life. And so I don't know, it's just been a wonderful blessing that I'm very grateful for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so we're at about 41 minutes now. So why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. I've got your Instagram here and your Facebook. So, I'll put those up as well. And all of those are available in the description, and a lengthy bio is there as well. What's up, buddy?
My job poking in the background. Okay. No, you cannot. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's just Cassandra.Wallace. And then on Facebook, it's just Cassandra Bannon Wallace. And those are the best ways to reach me, for sure. My kids are all interrupting. Sorry.
That's
so
all
yeah,
right.
that's the best way. I try and check messages on there, and I love it when people reach out to me with like volunteer opportunities. Especially if there's something I can do virtually or help out. I'm a huge fan of that, and I have met a lot of people and got to participate in a lot of things that way. So for sure, if you've got some cause that you feel I can help assist you with promo or doing anything, please reach out to me, and I would love to help you.
Awesome. That's great. Well, then, what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull us out of here. We're going to do the wrap up, and I'm going to talk to you right after this. This is actually going to be episode 93. I know it said at some point it was number 92, but that didn't work out. And also, too, if you were listening to yesterday's live stream, and my audio is a little bit different, it's because I forgot to push the record button on my local audio, so I had to settle for the StreamYard audio. So this time I made sure I didn't do that. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you're doing out there, and trying to make the world a better place. I think we all need to be doing that at this point.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. It was such an honor to be here, and I appreciate you letting me take the time to share about myself and the things that I'm passionate about.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Cassandra, and we'll see you soon, and hopefully everything that you're doing out there is going to be making a huge difference all over the place. So I'm going to pull you out, and then I'll be with you in just a moment.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was great. We're definitely blessed to have her show up and share her story and what she's doing out there. And you'll see me the next time. I believe it will be probably in the beginning of February. I have another one scheduled, unless I do another one before that. Otherwise, just keep following me on all of my social media. If you anywhere that I want to be, or anywhere that you can connect to me in the show, will be in the show notes in my link tree. That's the best place to find everything about what I'm doing. Other than that, I will catch you guys later.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.